Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Big Reset Conversation. In this series of interviews, we are going to explore what are the new ways of doing things after the global slowdown as a result of the coronavirus outbreak. In this particular episode, we will be talking about the future of work and the role of virtual and augmented reality in it. Around a year ago, I was filming a video with a company called Quark XR, and I was having kind of a conference call in virtual reality, which honestly really felt weird. And who would have thought that this would become a thing? To explore the role of virtual and augmented reality in the new reality of working life and processes, we've invited Krasimir Nikolov. He is the founder of Quark XR, and his startup has a software solution that allows content to be streamed flawlessly on wireless VR headset, and has so far done several different experiments with partners like Orange and Deutsche Telekom on providing this technology for meetings and corporate trainings. Hi, Krasi. How are you doing?
Hey Alex, good to see you.
I see you are prepared already for the conversation. How has the team been doing?
As everyone, we've been working remotely with one important addition is that we have the ability to also do meetings in VR, which has been very fun.
Is it also effective besides the fun? How does it work? How does it feel also?
Right. I think it has one big distinct advantage of creating presence. I think we've all been on a Zoom call with a lot of people when people start talking over each other and you have no idea who is talking right now and who I should pay attention to. I think VR makes that more natural and you get a sense of being there with other people. And we also have body language, so we can have a more natural way of doing a conversation.
Maybe a bit stupid question, but how does it work on practice? I mean, do we need separate applications to enter a VR conf call? What's the deal?
It's similar to Zoom. Yes, you need some sort of a app. There are several on the market, and then somebody hosts a meeting the same way you would do on Zoom, and other people can join.
Okay, and this requires that everyone has a headset, I guess.
I guess some people can join without a headset, but it works best if everybody can join in VR.
Realistically speaking, do you think that could become a standard and more people using it as a normal way of conducting those type of meetings?
I think it definitely has advantages. The key thing is not to try to mimic the real world, but rather to augment it in a way, which means that we could have big room theater kind of rooms, for example, with a podium. We can put of our colleagues in the same environment. We can also bring different presentation tools, like have a gigantic screen for presenting or having multiple screens. We could have whiteboards. Basically, have infinite number of different tools to our disposal that we wouldn't normally have.
And what types of businesses and companies do you think this is applicable for? Because not everyone will be able to join it soon. Probably it will start from certain sectors.
That's right. I think the most applicable industries are automotive, engineering, oil and gas industries that already rely on many 3D tools and technologies. So for them is natural evolution to bring in virtual and augmented reality to either do trainings, to do remote assistance and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know for sure that you've been working on in the domain of VR assisted trainings in production facilities, if I remember correctly, and probably you have other interesting use cases. Can you share a bit more about that?
Yes. So one big use case that we've done in the past was exactly around factory training and how to train your employees before facilities are even built. And in that particular collaboration, we worked with Deutsche Telekom and Volkswagen to provide an immersive factory training where you are taught how to work on the assembly line. And other interesting applications could be assisting people out on the field that are doing maintenance, but also we've done more traditional corporate training like emergency evacuation, for example. And I know there are companies that are doing HR trainings in VR, which I think is very, very useful. Especially in the Western countries, stuff like sexual harassment trainings are a hot topic, and this could be more immersive and more effective in VR.
But why? What exactly are the benefits of doing all this in VR since you have other established tools?
So one thing is that virtual reality separates you from your current environment, and you can focus. You have less distractions. In the field of engineering, it's a no-brainer because these are 3D. The work is related to 3D objects, and for example, automotive architects, they have to deal with real life products, and we just uh, learn that kind of information better in 3D and have a better perception. It's one thing for me to try to visualize a house from a 2D screen or a technical drawing even, and it's a completely other thing to experience it in virtual reality. So you just are onboarded and you learn much quicker.
That's the focus. I remember in another conversation we were talking about the fact that when in virtual reality, it's easy to track whether the employees are actually focused on what they're doing. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a good point. You actually could have access to the information of where they're looking at, and you could cross-reference their, let's say, if they do a test afterwards, and you can cross-reference what they're paying attention to, what can you do better in terms of the training to engage them better, and you have so much more information from just them wearing a headset. So I think that's another big plus.
I think we've also discussed a case in which a team managed to lower the number of physical meetings and like generally travels uh, for meetings.
Yes. Yes, we have. I shouldn't name the company, but they were working on a big project with remote teams in the space of automotive, and they were supposed to travel to meet around 30 times. And the VR company which was providing the tools for remote collaboration, they're called Arthur, and they wanted to reduce that by half. What ended up happening is out of those 30 scheduled flights, the teams only flew out a couple times, and all other meetings were done in VR. So I guess they just realized that the VR tools were effective enough for them to collaborate, and they didn't have to spend all that time. And obviously, right now we're restricted to traveling anyways. So I think it's a perfect opportunity for a lot of companies to test that model.
Also, another big topic here is physical events that are transitioning to like the online space. And as far as I remember, you joined such a VR conference some time ago. Can you share a bit more experience and what's your general observation? Will that work?
Yes, last week we had a conference that normally takes place in Laval, France, Laval Virtual. It's one of the oldest VR conferences dating from the 90s. And it was done very effectively in virtual reality. You could join sessions, you could talk to other people, you could book a private meeting with somebody, And I think, again, the key here is not just to try to mimic the real world, but think of ways to augment it. For example, is what's the easiest way for me to switch from one track to the next, which could be done very easily in VR, or is how to solve attendance problems. Like, can I have, it's a lot of events, they have limited attendance. You don't have to do that in VR. You could have unlimited space, and that applies also to meetings. For example, I could have an unlimited number of meeting rooms, and always be able to connect with people. Another very small detail I think that was very effective is, instead of wearing a badge, everybody sort of had their name hovering over their head. So it's very easy to connect with people and find the person you're looking for, which is a big hassle for me at conferences.
And how does networking in virtual reality work? Wasn't it weird?
Well, definitely platforms need a little more polishing, but I don't think it was weird. The platform that they used is called Verbella, and one thing that it handled very well was just the audio. And when I approach somebody, I can hear them speak more loudly, like in the real world. And when I walk away, it dims out, so it's a very natural way of having a conversation, similar to the real world.
Just as a note, probably important that in virtual reality we all look like avatars. We don't look like ourselves. They maybe mimic the way we speak and our body language, but it doesn't look like we do.
Yeah, and people sometimes think that that's a limitation. I don't think so. The technology doesn't like 100% prohibit having a camera feed, but it's just more uh, it's again about the feeling of presence and me being there. You can see my body language. I also have, normally I have hand controllers that track my hands, and companies like Oculus and Facebook, they've been working a lot on facial expressions, so you can see when I'm talking, you can also kind of feel my emotions, like am I calm, am I anxious, am I excited about something. So I think it's a more natural way of communicating all around.
And in this regard, do you think that AR and VR will find their solid place in the working process? And if so, when and what should we be aware of?
That's a great question. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of companies are already using these technologies. Like I mentioned, the automotive space, the oil and gas industry, the manufacturing industry, and where we need to go next is just scale. So we have teams in those organizations that are using AR or VR, but not everybody. And this is something that Quark XR is trying to solve, the problem of scale and how to utilize cloud computing to put everybody in AR and VR. And I think this is going to be the next step where entire organizations start operating in VR. And we know some companies like GitLab, for example, they're completely remote companies. So I think remote companies definitely would benefit most from these types of technologies, because they can connect with their colleagues. You could have like virtual get-togethers to meet your team members, to meet the other people at the company, and establish a relationship with them, instead of if you cannot meet them in real life.
And having all that said, what's next for Quark XR actually? Where are you heading?
Yeah, very exciting stuff. We keep working on training use cases. We have several interesting projects. Now we recently added the ability to stream 360, 180 videos, which have a lot of applications in corporate training, because a lot of the trainings there are video based. and working actually with another Bulgarian company called vBlast in order to exactly solve that problem of scale, how to put as many people in a meeting or a presentation, a webinar together.
When are we expecting VR or AR to be like normal part of the process of working, like a mass product? Do we?
Great question. Well, I think the current situation, if we can draw one positive from it, is people are a lot more used to virtual technologies now. We talked about how before the call, how in Zoom you can select a virtual background, and people are getting used to these types of things. Maybe you're familiar that Travis Scott recently had a concert in Fortnite, which is who would have thought, and it was attended by 12 million people. It's something that you cannot do in real life. So people are getting familiar with those technologies, and they can see the benefits. Now we need to uh, solve the problem of getting everybody hardware. This situation was hard on manufacturers and distribution. So I'm looking forward to when this is over, sales and distribution picking up, so that we can get headsets in the hands of more people. And I think that that's the way it will happen gradually over the next couple of years.
Well, super exciting. Krasi, thank you for helping us explore a bit more the world of virtual reality. I hope to be able to try it for real soon. And for everyone, thanks for joining. If you want to continue following the topic of future of work, you can also register for the Big Reset conference, where we are going to talk about this next month. See you, and thanks for being here. Bye, Krasi.
See you, Alex.